Adrian Macdonald, welcome to the Steep Stuff podcast. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to finally have a conversation with you. I know you're just a week or two removed from how do you pronounce that race? Is it DeFi Day Calor? I feel like I have
Uh,
so many friends that went and did this race, and I feel like they would kill me because my French pronunciation is so poor.
yeah, I don't really know how to spell it. And then I was like, yeah, there are all kinds of words, but yeah, Defeat de Calor. And then they called it the MSA Mount St. Anne Classic Up and Down.
Yeah.
Um, and it was fun when they would say up and down in English. And so I'm like, oh, that's my race.
How was that experience? I feel like this year specifically. I mean, every year they've done such a great job at fielding, just a fantastic field. But I feel like this year the vibe was a little bit different. It seemed like just a world class group of competition for both the vertical and the up down.
Yeah, it was really fun. I had never been to that area before. I had been to Montreal, and this was like 40 minutes out of Quebec City. Um, yeah, and it was steep. Like I think, yeah, there are two climbs. You climb like 2,000 feet in about 2 miles, then you drop down about 1,000 feet in a mile, and then turned around and went back up another 1,000 feet in 1 mile, and then descend to the finish. And it was on like ski slopes. There was kind of like a trail cut into it, so you could go pretty fast. So it was fun.
So it was a kind of like a Cirque Series race, more or less. Then is what kind of gave similar vibes to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like sort of looking back because I've done a few Cirque series, and um it was sort of like Cirque series without the ridge running at the top.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll get a little bit more into it in a little bit, but yeah, it's all good stuff there, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see how they continue to put that race together. I will probably go out next year for for the up down, probably not the vertical because that's not my jam, but the up down, the mountain classic distance seems to be
Yeah.
a lot of fun. Let's talk about you. How have things been since Western States? How's recovery been? How has the body been feeling? How have plans kind of shifted for back end of 2025 going into 2026?
Yeah, so Western States obviously didn't go well for me. I did finish, which I was proud of. Um, and then, so that was the end of June, and I sort of did my normal downtime. Like I take a week completely off, and then I just run easy for a few weeks. And the plan all along was to run Ultra Trail Cape Town, which I'm doing in 3.5 weeks now. And I was going to start my build up in mid-August, and I did that and was sort of feeling off, and I attributed it to just being hot. Um, and then after 2 weeks, I went up to Leadville for Labor Day weekend, and I did a workout on Friday, and then Saturday morning I did I think it was Oxford and Belford with my fiance Quinn, and then I ran Hope Pass, and it was the slowest Hope Pass that I've ever done by like 10 minutes. This is the backside, and that includes it doing it at 55 miles into a race. And so then I kind of knew something was definitely off, and I sort of felt like I was had a flu coming on, but it never really got past like the chills and the weird temperature fluctuations. Um, so yeah, I went in and got like blood work done, and I found out I was anemic, which I've been running for over 20 years now, and I've never had to deal with that. Um, and I think there was also some other sickness going on. And this like weird sort of half sickness had come up. I did the Wild West Relay for fun back in early July. And it was the same thing where like I felt like I'm going to get sick. And then I just sort of stay in that state for a little bit. Um, So yeah, I was gonna run Pikes Peak Marathon, but I cut that out unfortunately. And then I started supplementing iron and took pretty much all of September. I was just doing mileage and a little bit of vert and cut out the workouts. And then by the end of September, I was like feeling back to normal. And so I sort of decided that I could go ahead and run the Défi de Calor.
You got it. You got it better than me.
Yeah. And yeah, I leave for Cape Town in 10 days.
Nice, nice. Let's backtrack a little bit. I mean, if you don't mind, like me asking, like, do you think it was more diet related? Because I find this interesting. I've seen it pop up, and especially athletes that live at altitude, it seems to be obviously more of an issue where it comes like hematocrit and iron levels like kind of get screwed up. Like, are you more vegan or vegetarian? Like, do you think that that's what it is, or like, where do you think that popped up from?
No, I don't have any sort of dietary restrictions and um yeah, one of the sort of ironic things was that I started working with a nutritionist at the end of last year. I think I've like upped my nutrition game in the past year. So to have something like this happen was like extra frustrating. I sort of think when I started Western states, I was a little sick. Like I got a sore throat that came on a week before, and it sort of got worse and worse until the Wednesday, the day before the race. And then it sort of petered out, but then I got pink eye um, that I was sort of dealing with like the day before the race. So I think maybe running 100 miles in those conditions already sort of under the weather, it may have just buried myself more than I thought it would.
Sounds like it. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. If you don't mind me asking, like feeling kind of crummy before the start of a race like that, is there like pressure for you, obviously, to start? Because it's like, damn, if I don't do this, I got to go requalify all over again. I got to
Yeah.
do the whole thing all over again. Um, that must have been like a lot of pressure on you to kind of go in and do it knowing you were a little bit compromised.
Yeah, and what we sort of gaslight ourselves into thinking that we're not actually sick. Um, so I was like checking my heart rate a lot. Like my heart rate seems fine, like my running seems fine, but when people like after the race, like I had an Airbnb in Olympic Valley and people would come and I think they're all like talking behind my back, going like, "Oh, Adrian sounds really awful." And, um, yeah, I didn't want to like make it a big deal in front of the race, but um, I never thought about not starting or even not finishing.
Do you want to go back? Is that the plan, or like what do you think's next?
Uh, yeah, someday.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't, I don't have any real plans beyond Cape Town right now, but
Let's let's get into that. Are you running the 100K?
100 miles.
The 100 mile. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be amazing. Have you ever been out there before? I have not.
I've I went to South Africa for the 2010 FIFA World Cup,
Okay.
um, but we didn't go to Cape Town. We sort of went everywhere else. So I've been like wanting to get back and check out Cape Town, especially now that like I was like a track runner back then, so now I'm like this looks so cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it'll be cool to see too. For in case you want to try and qualify for Worlds for 2027, you'll get to see a lot of whatever that course would look like anyway.
yeah,
For depending on what style you go for, whether it's short trail, long trail, or mountain classic, I feel like there's very good trails. There's a lot of interesting stuff over there too. There's like cobras and stuff. It's kind of
yeah. I
wild.
was just looking up like what animals I'll have to be on the look for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do have cobras and there's some cat, the big cat, I think.
Leopard. I think there's leopards and stuff. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty wild. Yeah. You want to don't want to run into one of those. um, all right, let's kind of pivot a little bit. I know you had mentioned soccer, and I do want to talk about that. But first off, like I do want to dive a little bit into your origin story. Like I know you're from Massachusetts. I know you grew up running cross country and track. Did you play soccer as well?
Yeah, I played soccer in high school and I didn't switch to cross country until college.
Okay. What position did you play for soccer?
I was um I was a midfielder, outside mid, so I was just fitter than everyone else and I was the only one that would run over the summer. So that's sort of how I found my got my spot on the team.
Did
Um,
oh, I'm
I
sorry.
always think like I know how much I improved in running when I went full time in college. Like I always wonder like how good at soccer could I have gotten if I had played it year round for 4 more years. But um, I was just sort of average on an average team, but I loved it.
Did you? I mean, was there ideas at any point in time to want to play in college or try to, like in the beginning, or was it more so like you just realized you were fit and let's continue,
Um,
cross country track kind of background?
no, I never really thought about playing soccer in college. My brother, he did the whole club soccer and he looked into it and he was better than I was. So, um, yeah, I guess I just sort of figured if he can't do it, I probably can't do it either.
It's a fun sport, man. I
Yeah.
uh, I grew up in South Florida, and that was my first sport. I played soccer
Okay.
all through high school. I was a left back, and yeah, it's such a fun sport, and it's the culture. I don't know what the culture is like in Massachusetts, but in South Florida, it's so multinational. A lot of South American athletes and Caribbean island athletes like come up. So it's like this melting pot of just phenomenal athletes. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so you learn it from a very young age. Like it's kind of embedded in the culture there, which is kind of it's different. It's like unlike any other spot in the United States. What was it like for you playing high school sports and then going to college? I know you went to Gettysburg College. Did you were you recruited out of college to run track?
I wasn't really recruited, so I started track my sophomore year and I did okay, but it was like 216 in the 800 or something, and that was my event. And then junior year, I was actually injured the whole year, so there was no real, I didn't really have anything to send to coaches. So I sort of applied to colleges without thinking about doing sports in college. And then my senior year, I started getting faster and faster. And I had these schools that I had gotten into, and I reached out to all the coaches there to see if they'd have me on their team. Um, and Gettysburg was the only D3 school I applied to. And they didn't make cuts or anything. And so they let me walk on the team. I got down to like 440 in the mile my senior year. So it was nothing special, but yeah, I had fallen in love with running at that point, and that was one of the big reasons I went to Gettysburg.
After college, how did you find the trails? Like, what got you stoked on trail running? Like, was it? I know it's some people see a video of Anton running shirtless in the
Yeah.
mountains in Leadville, and I mean, now there's people that get inspired to run in the sport because of you, dude, for the things that you've done at Leadville. Like,
Yeah.
what was it that got you excited about trail running?
Um, so yeah, after college, um, I moved back to the Boston area and I ran with the Greater Boston Track Club. And I did a couple of years. I wanted to break 410 in the mile because I ran 412 in college and I was always injured. And so I eventually decided that I would run the marathon. And so that's what I was doing with Greater Boston was road marathon. And then I moved to Colorado 2016, still doing like I wanted to run in the mountains, but I still wanted to do road marathons. And it was really COVID that got me to make the switch. Um, I was training for the Boston Marathon in 2020 and that got canceled. It was probably like 3 or 4 weeks before Boston, so I was pretty fit and I wanted to use that fitness for something. So I went after the Towers Road uh, time trial FKT in Fort Collins. And that's when I sort of fell in love with trail running and training for that. But it was really after I moved to Fort Collins, I was like meeting all these people that had done 100-mile races. And I knew one guy in Boston who did ultra races, and it wasn't something anyone really thought of. And then you got here and everyone did it. So it made it seem much more attainable.
Interesting. I want to pivot to Leadville.
Yeah.
After, I mean, I feel like the story of you running that race multiple times has been told so many times. I'm just so curious of like, how much did it change your life after winning that race? Like, automatically thousands of followers on Instagram. I'm sure everybody wants to run with you, get to know you, meet you. Obviously, contracts come your way. Like, how much was that life changing after you won that race?
Yeah, it really was life changing because um, I mean, I always loved running, and now I get to do it, and there's um, sort of more purpose behind it, I think now. And one thing I talk about is when I was doing road marathons, usually you're doing these big marathons and you're just trying to run as fast as you can, and there's not really much racing. And so being like near the top of the sport, it brought back the competitive part of running that I didn't really have since college when you were trying to win a conference title or something like that. And yeah, like you said, like people want to go on runs with me, and I get to travel the world, which is amazing, and meet people all over the world. And um, I was also just thinking about we had our on summit in Portland a few weeks ago, and what's cool about on is we do it with all the track athletes and road runners. So like Andy Weeding is the manager for the OIC in Boulder, and like he was someone that I looked up to when I was running the 800 in college, and like there he is. um, so yeah, it's just sort of been this like wild ride that I never even like dreamed of. Um, and that's all came from like winning that first Leadville.
Was it weird after the fact? Like, people would come up and introduce themselves to you and say hello and stuff like that. Like, did that ever, was that a little strange? Because I feel like that's got to be the hardest adjustment. Like, I have quite a few people that I've met on the podcast or just adjacently in the sport, and I don't want to say they're famous because that's weird because it's not a giant sport, but still, like, you get recognized, and that's weird. Like, how have you tussled with that?
Um, yeah, like it's not like a massive fame. I say it's like moderate fame. The weirdest one I was back visiting my brother who lives outside of Boston. He's in a country club, and we went to dinner in at his country club restaurant. And as I was getting up, someone came over and said, like, "Hey, you're Adrian Macdonald, right?" And that was like the last place in the whole world. Like I sort of expected if I'm at a race or like in town here, but at a country club in Walpole, Massachusetts was um yeah, it was pretty strange.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. On the flip side of that coin, though, I got to ask you this as well. You had success so early on in the sport for yourself. Like really your first 100 miler, you went and knocked one out of the park. Most of the races you run, you do fairly well at. But specifically with Leadville, winning such a very high profile race very early on, was there pressure after that, like to have to repeat? Like, I found it very interesting because like the probability of winning that race twice, I feel like goes down with the amount of pressure that people put on themselves after the fact. So how did you deal with the pressure kind of after that?
Yeah, yeah, so I ran it the next year, and at this point I had the on sponsorship, and I had a film crew filming me, and I um I remember like telling people before the race, like, I don't think the sponsorships and this film crew adds any pressure. Like, I already put a lot of pressure on myself. And then I won the race again, and like I had this huge sense of relief. And I'm like, maybe there was a lot of pressure on me. and I just hadn't really noticed. Um, I think another thing that came with winning Leadville like so soon into my like ultra running career is I was so like naive to the whole world of ultra running, that like getting back to like a race like Cirque Series, like the next summer I went to Cirque Series and I figured like, oh, I won Leadville. I should be able to go win this like little Cirque Series race, no problem. And I get crushed. So just sort of like learning that they're all different types of like races, and some people are good at some of them and not good at others. And like luckily for me, I picked one right from the start that I'm like really good at, which is like a runnable high altitude race.
Yeah. What do you think it is about the altitude for you? Like, especially you're kind of an anomaly in a way that like you're not from altitude. Like you grew up in
Right.
Massachusetts. Most people that tend to be really, really good at altitude for some reason have that gene from like living in altitude at a young age. For yourself, and also you live in Fort Collins, which is only what 5,000 feet, so it's not like it's
Yeah.
the tallest point in the state by any means. So, what is that physiologically like? I guess were you just born lucky just to be able to adapt really well?
Yeah, I have no idea. Because yeah, I mean, I do when I'm training for Leadville, I try and get up high, like 10,000 feet every weekend and sleep up there. But uh, yeah, I don't know. It's sort of a mystery, and that those types of mysteries are what make the sport fun right now. I'm sure at some point there'll be all this science that comes in and we'll be able to identify who's good at what types of races. But right now, there's still some of that mystery.
Yeah. I think it's cool too. I mean, I think we're still at this point in the sport where, the course really matters. Some people, like for instance, like I'm a big mountain classic and vertical guy. Like I really follow those subsets of races. And it was just so interesting to me seeing athletes go and race at Worlds. And that was such a fast course. And athletes that, might not be as, that are faster generally tended to do better as opposed to athletes that were just better on technical terrain. And it just really
Right.
separated. Whereas had it been a super technical course, it would have been a completely different type of race. So we're still in that point of the sport where like course specificity really does matter, which is interesting.
Yeah. I did have one like hint that I'd be good at it. And that's one of the reasons I picked Leadville for my first 100 miler was I had in 2019 I ran the Mount Evans ascent, and won it. Like I sort of surprised myself. I was like 2 or 3 weeks out from running Grandma's Marathon, and it was a short meet. They cut the course short that year, but that's when I sort of realized like I might be really good at high altitude.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to see you line up or potentially line up for Pikes this year. Because I think that,
Yeah,
um, and this is no disparagement against like John Aziz's competition, but like no one was there to really challenge John. He was kind of alone on himself, and I feel like had you been there, it actually would have been a bit more of a race, significantly. Like you guys would have pushed each other. So yeah, I really would love to see you do that race, whether it's the ascent or the marathon at some point in time, because I think you have definitely an opportunity to become a champion there.
yeah. No, yeah, I was really bummed to miss it, and it's like tough where it stands in the calendar because this was the one year where I wasn't running like Leadville or UTMB at the end of the summer, so I could actually do it.
Yeah.
But it will be there.
We'll get you there. We'll make it
Yeah.
happen. I want to pivot a little bit and talk about your training and the types of races that you do, and because this is something one of the reasons like I really wanted to have you on the podcast because you strike me as just an interesting calendar creator. Like you do the stuff, like it seems like you'll pick one or two long efforts per year. And then you pepper in a lot of sub ultra races, which I think is really cool because you mix it up on both scenes, which not a lot of longer distance athletes do anymore. Like a whole slew of Cirque Series races dating back to like 2022. You've done Mount Washington, what, 3 or 4 times? You've done Kendall, Canyons 25K this past year. Like, what is the thought process behind that? I love you seeing you doing it. Is it because you're
Yeah.
excited to do these races, or is it more of a fitness test for you? Like, what about these intrigue you?
Um, well, one thing is that I like racing's fun, and I think it's a skill that you need to practice. Like just getting nervous is like uh, s- something that you need to like learn to live with. And if I think I if I go into a big race without having gone through that in like a tune-up race, I think I just get way too nervous and anxious. But also, the more I've done ultras, the more I sort of realize that I don't need to do like a huge, long effort in preparation for an ultra. So these shorter races provide that opportunity to still race and not sort of take as much out of my body as like a ultra, like a doing a 50K would do, or um, like some even longer. Um, yeah, and I always come away like I do pretty good at it, but I always come away wishing that I could do better. And it's just like amazing to see like like I run up and down mountains a lot, and someone like Remy LaRue can run 9 minutes faster than me in that an hour race. Yeah, it's um, so it's like it's really fun, especially when you finish on a downhill, but it's also humbling.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great answer. Do you guys build it like we can get into coaching and talk about that as well, but do you guys build that into the calendar to have these stimulus in there? Do you do them as workouts as well, or is it like kind of in a block? Like, how do you guys structure that?
Um, Usually I'll pick out the main target race, which is usually an ultra, and then I'll just try and find other races that get me excited, or like I did canyons so I could go out and get on the Western States course. Um, yeah, like the race in Quebec was the On it sponsored the race, and so the race director wanted someone from On to do it, and he reached out to me last year, and it didn't work, and it just looked like a fun race, and my parents could come. So um, October is a tough time to find mountain races in Colorado. So um, yeah, just I just find whatever gets me excited, and that's why I've gone back to Mount Washington a few times because growing up in in Boston, like that's the like mountain race in New England. I know like now it's not the most competitive one, but it's still like the most iconic one.
Yeah. I mean, this year was still. I mean, you still get Joe pretty much every year.
Yeah,
Alex Ricard shows up. David Sinclair. I mean, it was a pretty deep men's field, I could say. I mean, the women's field was a little bit less, but I mean, shout out to Rena for winning this year. But
yeah.
it was. It's always a cool race. Like I wish it got more love. I feel like it's kind of just been quieter in the last few years, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I think it's tough that it's at about the same time as Broken Arrow. That's probably why there are so many good Canadians and not many Americans there this year.
Yeah. What about the Northeast that intrigues you? Is it more so just because this is something, I mean, I always bring up Tom Hooper. I always talk about 603, and, now we have East Coast Cirque Series races. And I don't know. I'm just a giant fan of racing in the East Coast. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just a different type of style from like what we're used to in Colorado, if you will. Like what about the East Coast intrigues you? Is it more so homecoming for you? Is it just a challenge for something different? Like what about it excites you?
Yeah, a lot of it is just the nostalgia of New England, and that's where I first experienced mountains and hiking and really being in the outdoors. I went to summer camp in New Hampshire. Um, and then the first ever little backpacking trip I did was, I think we just did half of the Presidential Traverse. And I thought it was so cool to walk through the mountains carrying everything I needed on my back. And so yeah, and then just being able to see family when I go and race out there, sort of kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah. I listen. I think. I mean, if from a short trail perspective, I don't know. I feel like I sound like a broken record when I say this. There's more. like way more races out there than in Colorado from a short trail perspective. And I don't know why that is. It's kind of weird. Like we in the Mountain West for some reason like favor ultras a lot more. Like there's not as many like short ski like area
Yeah.
mountain races, which is weird because we have a ton of we have a ton of ski resorts. I don't know.
Yeah, like
Strange.
in that like sort of classic realm, like we just have the A Basin Cirque series, and then there's some like half marathons, but they're not I think half marathons are sort of weird on trails because you don't really need to define the
Yeah. Yeah.
distance, just like run up and down the mountain. There are some cool ones that I've done in Wyoming, like Pilot Hill and Gel Mountain.
Oh, how is Gel Mountain? I've never done that. I've been actually had that
Yeah.
race on the list a few times.
Um, you should definitely do it. It's about 10 miles. It's pretty much a dirt road.
Is it?
You just run to the top, like run around a cone and come back down, snow frills. But yeah, I think races like that are cool where it's like, all right, there's a mountain here, there's a road that goes up the mountain. Let's
Let's race
race
it.
up and down it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's on that topic. Like now that you do all these high profile races, but you still there's still room for some smaller stuff as well. Like what do you like to do better now? Like do you like to find a mixture of doing both and what do you think of the sport as it continues to evolve and professionalize?
Um, yeah, like I like doing the shorter races, but what really drives me is the ultra races, and like that's what I'm like really good at, and um that's what gets me excited to train. And yeah, and I think that's sort of like what I tell like younger runners is like most people go through college and like you have to run cross country and then you have to do this, and I've always like told them like yeah, like once you're out of that, like you just do the races that get you excited, and those are probably the ones you're going to do best at. um so that's sort of how I've treated my running since I left college, and that's how I treat ultra running. Like even like when I did the Taraware 100K, I was sort of like wishing the whole time that I was doing the 100 miles, but I knew that the golden ticket would get me to the Western States start line. So
Gotcha.
that's what sort of drove me.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, and as far as the whole um like the sport is um like I this year was because I was training with Taylor in the spring, Taylor Stack, and like watching this sort of short trail like season and his like amazing season. It sort of like had me thinking more about how um like the Golden Trail, like I never really paid much attention to that before, but since he was doing so well in it, I was sort of following that a bit. Um,
Is there a chance we could get you at a Golden Trail Series race one of these years?
yeah, I'd like to do it. Yeah, I mean, I would like love to do something like Sierras and all, or but I don't know if I could like build a whole season around it.
Yeah.
I
That's a
could,
tough race. I mean, that's a hard thing to nail
yeah.
too. What has it been like? Because I know Taylor for had lived in Fort Collins for a bit, and I know Tyler McKinless is probably not far from you as well, also in Fort Collins. Have you? I know you've got out the train with Tyler or with Taylor. Have you gotten out the train with Tyler as well?
Yeah, yeah, Tyler, he moved to Fort Collins, I think it was 2021. So just when I was getting into the trail running, and he sort of was too. So um he like has such a crazy life that it's sort of if my running can fit into his schedule, then that's when we meet up. And then Taylor Taylor's girlfriend, Sydney, ran on the track team at CSU with my fiance Quinn. So
Oh, cool.
they sort of connected us, and he had a more flexible schedule. So we were running a lot, especially this past spring. And I'm kind of bummed that he's left town.
I know, I know. He's back in Salida doing his thing. I gotta say, man, if there's anybody I gotta give kudos to, Taylor has had a crazy good season. Like
Yeah.
it's been wild to see how much he's like developed in just 1 year.
Yeah, it is. And so we ran last December, we went and ran club cross country, and it was me and Taylor and um, Nick Costello, Thomas Dean, and Forrest Barton, and we did terribly. Um, like none of us were very fit, and it was kind of cool to see. Like just a few months later, I got a golden ticket, and then Taylor had this amazing season, and Forrest set the course record at the Power of Four, and then Thomas just won a marathon in Steamtown Marathon in Pennsylvania. But it was, yeah, it was, yeah, especially Taylor. He reached a whole new level. It was like, cool to be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about Fort Collins and just like the running scene there. I mean, obviously like Nick Clark I know has been a big cornerstone of that community for a minute, but what is the scene like in general there?
Um, I think it's sort of a very sportive, or I guess one of the cool things about Fort Collins, especially coming from like a big city like Boston. And like when I was in Boston, in the Greater Boston Track Club, I would do all my running with people that had a marathon PR within like 2 or 3 minutes of me. And then I come to Fort Collins, and just the way that the running community is set up, I'll go on runs with, um, I mean, Nick was a great runner, but by the time I got here, he was a little bit past it. And like I'll train with someone like him, and then like Gerald Mock is in town, and he's a 2:10 marathoner, and I'll train with him. So it's sort of like a very, I guess, like inclusive running community, which I think makes it feel like very supportive as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good mix. You've got a few elites in there, or quite a few elites actually, and young guns continuing to come up, and it's kind of a growing cool town. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not Boulder, which I kind of like because I feel like Boulder's just so saturated with. Listen, I got a lot of listeners on this
Yeah.
podcast that live in Boulder, so there's no shade to them. I love them all, but I feel like there's just a lot of people and a lot of athletes in that area that it's easy to get FOMO and following around what other people are doing. Whereas I almost feel like it might be more conducive to do better in a small, at least for me, in a smaller town. Like that's why I love Colorado Springs. It's like there's a lot of us floating around, but at the same time, it's like people are doing their own thing, and it's just not as much pressure as like a place like Boulder, which is a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost seems like in Boulder, there's like groups that are like competing with each other to be like the best in Boulder, and in Fort Collins, it's like, all right, let's all get really fit and go beat all these people from Boulder.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
On the topic of Nick Clark, can you talk a little bit about like, cause he's like he's a legend in ultra and trail running. Been around the scene for a long time. I think I watched it. I can't remember what documentary it was with you. He was in it. Talk a little bit about that relationship. Has he been more of a mentor figure for you as you've kind of exploded onto the scene?
Yeah, so I got to know Nick through I'm on the board of the Fort Collins Running Club, and the running club owns the Horsetooth Half Marathon, and he's the race director for that. So he would come to most of our meetings and be like a pretty involved with the club. And he helps put on some other races for the club too. And then um, he was the one that I in the summer of 2020, I was on a run with Nick, and I'm like, I want to run Leadville next summer, 2021. And his first response was, "Why would you want to do that?" And he's run probably a dozen 100 milers. So yeah, he was um, like a mentor, especially in those like my first few years. And he's great because he would, I was sort of scared to like ask him to come pace me at my first Leadville. And then I did, and he said yes. And I felt like that was a like sign that he thought I could do well. And like I always know like if Nick thinks like he'll tell me like when I went into UTMB, he's like, I don't think you can get like top five, top 10 in your first go there. Um,
Hey, I mean, I appreciate the him being real. I mean, I think
yeah,
that's from one runner to another. I mean, that's a hard race to nail, and
yeah.
you know,
Um, so like when I know he says like I think you can do this at this race, then um, like I know that it means something. Um, yeah, and then unfortunately he's had some injuries the past couple of years, so we haven't been able to run much together. But I had his son Alistair pacing me at Western States this year, and we did a lot of training together. He's off in college now, so I'm missing him too. Yeah, and then I don't know if you've been to one of his races.
no, I actually I've wanted to do quad rock. The 25 miles
Yeah,
is a little far from me, but
yeah,
yeah, quad rock has definitely been
um,
one on the list for a long time.
yeah. The events that he and his partner Brad put on are probably some of the best out there. I've heard Never Summer is, um,
That's another great race.
yeah.
Got to convince him to add a smaller distance for
He
like.
has talked about doing a VK up there.
Oh, dude, he does a
Um,
VK. I'll promote it for
yeah,
him. Yeah, speak
I
that into
don't.
existence.
I think the park, the state parks people are worried about people being stranded up on the top of a mountain when they finish.
Oh
Is
yeah,
there no like lifts or anything to take people down?
it's always the logistics, man.
Yeah.
It's the problem with VKs in this state. Yeah, we need more. That's something I've been talking about on the pod for a while. Is we need more VKs. But yeah, no, I don't know, I really appreciate like I find it very interesting, like that dynamic and relationship. Like Nick Clark, like I said, just a probably a Hall of Famer when it comes to the ultra running scene. Been around, run everything. So it's kind of cool to see the older crowd mentoring the younger guys coming up as they kind of make their way into the scene. One thing he had mentioned about UTMB, is that something you'd ever go back to? Is that something you'd wanna go and take another crack at?
Yeah, definitely. And like one of the reasons I'm doing Cape Town is I think I jumped into UTMB too quickly the first time I did it. And so Cape Town has a similar to UTMB, it starts at 5 p.m. on a Friday. And so you start out through the night and it's got like 24,000 feet of gain and loss, which isn't quite what UTMB has, but more than Leadville, and the other races that I've done really well at. So, um, yeah, I definitely want to sort of work towards going back to UTMB.
It's an interesting thing to figure out. Do any of those like lesser distances intrigue you, like a OCC or a CCC? Because I feel like you would. Americans, for some reason, tend to do so much better at CCC for some reason.
Yeah, yeah, like I do think I think I could do well at both OCC and CCC, but UTMB is the big one.
Yeah, it is scary. It's scary
Yeah.
how long and distant that is. Really quick, I want to shift gears and talk about On. I know you said you had just got back from a team summit. Talk about that. Like, what was that like? Um, obviously there's some stuff you probably can't talk about as far as product goes, but like, and stuff for the future. But yeah, what's it like getting together with your teammates and talking about, race plans and future of the brand and all that stuff?
Um, yeah, it's really exciting to be a part of On because it's growing so quickly. And this is my fourth year, and just seeing how much it's progressed in the last few years is amazing and inspiring. Um, yeah, and like I was talking about before, it's cool to be with the OAC track team and the other um, like amazing track and road runners that they have. Um, yeah, and then our group of trail runners is really cool. Like David Kilgore is our manager, and he's so fun to be around. Um, and yeah, like I don't know, I'm always telling people like if you haven't tried an on shoe in like the last 5 years, like you need to like go and try it out again because they're just rapidly improving. And we have our the Cloud Ultra Pro, and I haven't run in any other trail super shoe, but everyone that tries it says they love it and that it's the best one out there. Um, and so it's like cool to be a part of the whole development process of that and see how that works. Yeah, and it's like it's a cool brand.
Yeah.
Not all like running brands are cool. Like Nike has always been cool, and I think On has like worked its way into being a cool running brand.
I gotta say one thing. Your kits are sick. Like the kits this
Yeah.
year are the best I've ever. I think one of the best in trail running, in my opinion. Like the, I don't know, with that like yellow with the green kind of, and then with the white. Like the singlets are and the shirts are dope. Oh yeah, I think it's the yellow and black singlets that I've seen Patrick and Philemon wear, and I was like,
Yeah.
yo, those are dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of the singlets are really cool, and shoe technology I've heard amazing things from. It's cool to see them now. They finally developed a pack, and it seems like they have a belt product out there as well. So it's kind of neat that you guys have like kind of the full kit, which has
Yeah.
come a long way, which is cool.
Oh, and one of the On's adding, they've sort of soft launched it, but they have sprinters now. And so we had these sprinters at the On Summit, and they had no idea that there was such a thing as 100-mile races, and they were sort of blown away, blown away by it. And um, yeah, it was kind of I didn't know this at the time when I was like chatting with them at dinner, and then I went home and looked them up, and one of them was his name is Max, and he ran at USC and was second in the NCAA um, in the 100 meters, like 992. I'm like, wow, like first it's cool that I've never talked to a sub 10-second 100-meter runner before, and that he thinks what I do is so like crazy is it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's legit. How do you moving on from on how do you view like yourself in the sport? Like do you view this as a career? Is this something you want to do like long term, or I know you also have a day job as well. But how do you view it? Is it a legacy thing for you? Like you want to go win more races, add to the legacy and have this like amazing career, or do you view it like 1 year at a time? How do you kind of like break it up in your brain?
I do think I sort of look at it 1 year or one training block at a time, and it's um it's something that I want to do for as long as I'm able. Um, I've had someone ask me like, "Hey, Adrian, are you gonna still run when you retire?" And I'm like, what do you mean retire? Like I've always run, so I just think it's something that I'm always gonna do if I'm able to.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a cool sport. Talk about your YouTube channel, what it takes. I was like in the prep for this episode, I started digging into your Western States videos, which I thought were excellently done, man. Like your YouTube channel is amazing. Do you plan to build on that at all, or?
Um, so that was Jacob Matchmer, who's um, he's a he lives in Fort Collins. He and his wife have a like a media business, they mostly work with uh like businesses and they'll like film, I don't know, a corporate event that's going on, and that's how they make their money. And but they have like a cabin in Winfield, which is the turnaround at Leadville. So they go out there every year, and he like discovered that I lived in Fort Collins. And so after I got the golden ticket at Tarawera for Western States, he reached out and was like, hey, we need to do something. And we were, I think like the biggest inspiration was Clayton Young's YouTube series. Um, and so we wanted to do something like that that would sort of build excitement for the race. Yeah, and he did an amazing job, and um, it was, yeah, he just sort of like embedded himself with my training and racing for the whole Western States build. Um, I'd love to do something like that again, but it's a lot of work for him. And just like finding the resources to pay him for it um, would was a little difficult. So um, we might do something before I take off for Cape Town, and um, but yeah, I'd love to do something like that again with him because
Yeah.
yeah, he did such a good job.
Oh, an amazing job. I like, and I'll link it in the show notes so folks can wander
Yeah,
on over to the to your YouTube channel and subscribe and watch because yeah, they're fantastically done. And I love how it wasn't just like one big film; it was broken up individually into episodes.
yeah.
And there was, it just really captured like your Western States one of you. I forget what aid station you were at, but you were suffering, dude. And I was like, oh man,
Oh, Green Gate.
this poor guy, this poor guy. But he really did a great job at capturing like the emotion of it and just kind of where you were mentally and how you were kind of getting through it. And yeah, it was like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but the audience should definitely check it out. And dude, you should keep, like I said, in whatever way you can, keep something like that going. I think it's kind of cool. And
Yeah.
see if you can get some videos of like workouts or something like that with like, I don't know, get Tyler out or someone and get more pros together to, because I think that that's the next like iteration of like the professionalism in the sport is doing more because like I think the road group does the roadies do such a better job of like getting content and being able to film that stuff and putting it out there for the world to see. And like I feel like we can continue to make trail more just bigger and more fun with that,
Yeah.
with stuff like that. So
And with like all the cool places um we like get to run, it's like it
yeah,
looks cool.
yeah,
Like
no,
I think the one of the interesting things about Clayton's, like you always have this cool like mountain backdrop in Provo, but then he's like running around an industrial park and there's traffic everywhere.
it's chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um yeah, we'll try and get more out there.
yeah, it'd be
I
sweet.
like really um one of the things that's really cool about ultra running is like the community and the like people, like it's an individual sport, but you have like your crew and all these other characters that are involved. And um I liked how people got to like meet Quinn, and like Taylor was in there a little bit, and Alistair, and like my mom. It was like so special to have that period, even though the race didn't turn out well, to have that period of my life captured like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, no matter how old you are, at any point in time in your life, that's something you can always go back to and watch and like be like, man, I did that, and the
Yeah.
people, people that really cared about me were with me, supporting me through this. So, yeah, it is. It's very special. It's one of those cool, like, one of the coolest aspects of the sport for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Well, listen, we're at about an hour. Adrian, I want to thank you so much for coming on the pod, man. This was a great conversation. I definitely want to continue to have these. Um, we'll talk more as far as 2026 season goes, but I'm trying to get into. I'm going to try to get into Mount Wash. So hopefully I see you up there if you go out there and race this year. If not, I'll see if I can. I'll make my way up to Fort Collins to get out for a run, something like
Yeah,
that.
do it.
So yeah, man. Well, dude, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Talk to
Awesome.
you soon.
Thanks.